1, and today we'll be talking with Jens about virtual folders. First off, we have a few announcements. So the Alfresco Day in Boston is tomorrow on the 5th of November. Then next week we have office hours with the user assistance team on Thursday, that's the 12th of November. The week after, on Thursday, the 19th, we have Alfresco Day in Stockholm, and then we have some Alfresco days in the beginning of December as well. So lots of stuff going on, very exciting, and I'm hoping to see you guys, at least in Europe, in Stockholm, Vienna, and Amsterdam. That will be really, really great to see you guys there. So I think that's, oh yeah, Beacon is, the Order of the Bee is arranging their own conference in Brussels next year. The dates have been finalized and they are taking pre-registrations and looking at call for papers. So be sure to check out their Twitter account and orderoftthebee.org and really get engaged. We want to see as many people there, and I'm really definitely going to be there, and we are really fighting to get as many people from Alfresco to attend. So really looking forward to that, and I'm following the developments closely. So Jens, welcome to Tech Talk Live. Maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is Jens Dahl, and I'm responsible as a product manager at Alfresco for the capability of virtual folders. And as one or the other of you might know, I've been responsible for the Workdesk product, which also formerly at the company of Webdav that was acquired 2.5 years ago by Alfresco. Yeah, and that's it as an introduction.
Great. And today we're going to talk about the virtual folders, and I'm really excited about this feature. Can you sum it up in a nutshell on what virtual folders is?
Basically, virtual folders is a couple of stored searches which are represented on your folder tree. So when you enter a folder, a query will be executed. So basically bringing two worlds together and combine the best of both. So having the well-known metaphor of a folder combined with the capabilities of search. Coming along with this capability also is the ability to propagate metadata from the query onto a document you add to such a virtual folder.
Sounds really, really good. So we are hoping that this feature will go into the next release of the Community Edition. It will definitely be in 5.1 Enterprise. But as for the Community Edition, we hope to be in the next one, but I don't want to commit and promise that it will be there, but that's at least what we're working towards. So Jens, I'm going to focus the screen on you now, and you can go ahead with the presentation.
Okay, so I will start with a presentation, and after a few slides, we'll kick off a small demo to not bore you with too much slideware.
Demos are always exciting.
Let's share my screen.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, virtual folders. So before going into virtual folders, I want to present a typical problem statement. I guess you come across this every now and then. So it's quite typical. You have a folder structure. For example, it's set up by client, but your departments want to work by a product. So you have to jump back and forth between the products and the clients. And also some clients are relevant to more than one product. Some are specific to multiple products. Why can't you not just integrate the client folders into the product folders? I guess this is quite a typical problem you all have come across. Speaking more generic, you're working with multiple entities. You want to link these entities with each other. You want to integrate an entity folder into another entity folder, and you want to do it using different relations and using different taxonomies to browse to find these folders. So different users will be working in different business contexts and want to find such an entity folder, so for example, a product, a client, a business unit, by different criteria. Another problem where I'm sure you all have come across quite a lot is customers need or want to use metadata or provide metadata on their content, but the user experience is quite complex. You upload a document, then you have to fill in a form in a second step, and everything needs to be very simple. And these two problems are very typical, and you can resolve them to a certain extent using virtual folders. So virtual folders in a nutshell, I've already talked about this. You define stored searches. The stored searches are represented in a hierarchical folder tree so that when you enter a folder, the query is executed and you get the result list displayed, working in the document library or in the repository, combining search with the well-understood metaphor of a folder. What can you do with it? First of all, it's quite easy to federate content that's distributed across the whole repository into a single folder or view. And by this means avoiding a lot of multi-filing and keep the link between the content when it's moving. And it enables you to present your content in a certain business context. Different users may require the same folder, the same document, but it's required in a different business context. So it's provided, or you have the ability with virtual folders to present the content in different folders, in different locations, browsing by it or for it, or to find it by different criteria. And having the query predefined that's associated with the folder, it's also possible that you classify your content, meaning the type and the metadata when you add new content into a folder. That's what we call auto-classification and metadata propagation. It's agile in a way that you can apply such a virtual folder on existing content. So when you apply virtual folders, or when you have an update to version 5 and you already have existing content, it's possible to apply virtual folders to them without re-indexing your content. You can update the virtual folders, the virtual folder definition at any time, at runtime, and it's very easy to replicate a structure. For example, when you have a case file and need to replicate the same folder structure thousands of times, it's very easy to do with virtual folders. And last but not least, it's generic, meaning probably you know virtual folders from Workdesk. In Workdesk, we used CMIS queries for virtual folders. Now that we are merging capabilities from Workdesk into the Alfresco platform, we have extended, most notably, the node and the folder service. So by using the node and folder service, you have the virtual folders available, and in general, you can leverage it from any UI in any protocol. The thing you should note is when you design an application, you should take virtual folders in account. And that brings me to the next slide. Virtual folders, or the process of creating virtual folders, is part of the solution design process. So typically a business analyst, a consultant will specify, or will have a business case specified. Then he will start defining a domain model, defining a custom content model. Based on this custom content model, you will define your virtual folders in virtual folder templates, and then you will undergo a testing process, a deployment process, and transportation from test system to an integration staging till you are in production system. So keep in mind, virtual folders is a capability that's very useful for the end user, but the end user probably will not notice he's working in a virtual folder. It should be to a big extent transparent to a user that if a folder is a physical repository folder or if it is a virtual folder that is based on a search. The creation process is very, it's a business analyst with a certain amount of technical knowledge.
We have one comment just came in from us is that in the bottom of your screen you have a Google Plus Hangout sharing a screen. Can you see if you can hide that? Yes. Great, thank you.
Okay. So before starting the demo, I want to give you a quick overview how you create a virtual folder hierarchy and how it looks. So basically what you see here is a screenshot from the repository, or could be from a doc library as well. To create a virtual folder structure, we have to create a virtual folder template. A virtual folder template will include, first of all, let's start another way around. A virtual folder template can define multiple nodes, multiple folders that are arranged in a hierarchical folder structure. So you define more than one folder node in one virtual folder template. And for every node, you have to provide a search query. So the properties that form the properties for the search that is executed to form this folder. And optionally, there is also a filing rule which specifies where to file documents that are added to a virtual folder in the physical repository, as well as the properties that are propagated to this new content. And naturally, you will define a name and probably a description for the node that are displayed. So once you've defined the template, you have to decide how you attach this template to your physical tree. You have to associate a physical folder with this template, and there are different methods to do this. So first of all, you have to decide for the folder virtualization method you want to use. In the demo, I will show you two different ones. 3 are provided out of the box. In general, you can link this template to a certain type or to objects that hold a certain aspect. Or you choose to add an aspect to a folder, and that aspect holds the link or the association to the virtual folder template. Once you have done this, the template will be assigned to a folder, and it will create a virtual folder structure, as you can see it. So the structure here in this example is defined in a single template.
So there's one quick question is, a virtual folder, is that a new type in the content model, or is that a normal folder that we apply an aspect to?
A virtual folder is a query, so there's no new type. A virtual folder is a query, and the query needs to be assigned to this folder. The query is defined in the template, and the template is assigned to a folder. But as a prerequisite, it's not mandatory, but typically you define a custom model for the queries to be executed on. So typically for a claims example, you would have defined a claims meta model with a claim name, a claim ID, a relation from a claim to a policy. And sticking with an insurance example, there will be an insurance class. And these data will be used in the queries to represent in this folder structure.
Okay. What about the parent folder? Like right now in the example we see in your screenshot, you have the insurance crop folder. Is that a normal folder with an aspect, or is that a special folder?
That is a normal folder. It's a normal folder, and either you add an aspect to this folder, or this folder is of a specific type or holds a specific aspect, and then when you create such an object, automatically the virtual folder structure will be attached. But I will show you this in the demo.
Okay,
because
thanks.
This is, by the way, the last slide before the demo.
Okay.
So let's switch to the demo. So for the demo, I've chosen a simple scenario showcasing claims management in an insurance company. Probably everybody here has already had some cases with an insurance where he issued a claim himself. So it's quite a common example that everybody will understand. And by the way, the example I'm showing you in this demo will be provided as a tutorial along with the online documentation. So all of this will be part of the tutorial.
Excellent. That's good news.
So in an insurance company, or an insurance company will typically process probably thousands of claims every day with different teams and for different insurance classes. So life insurance, health insurance, accident insurance, and so on and so forth. Also, a claim will never come alone. Without an insurance contract or a valid policy, you as an insurance customer will not be able to issue a new claim. There needs to be a contract first, and the contract, the policy, as well as its terms are relevant for the claim. So right now you see the structure, the folder claims application, and you will see, or you see the folder claims. The claims folder will hold all the claims in this company. Only 2 are created in this example, but probably it could be thousands. And managing these all in this single folder could be quite impossible. And during the processing of this claim, from creating a new claim, probably an assessor will be sent to make an assessment on the damage of your car. There needs to be an approval for the payment. So there will be documents created throughout processing of this claim, and it will undergo different states. So I'm just showing that there's content in this folder. So now I want to show you how to structure such a claim. And the claim, or every claim folder, has an aspect associated with it, and the aspect holds the metadata for the claim. For example, the claim ID and the class of insurance, life, car, whatever. So when you look at the data dictionary, there will be a folder called virtual folder templates, and in there you can store virtual folder templates. The virtual folder templates are based on a JSON file, JSON definition. And when I rename this one, the name will match the aspect type, the aspect name, sorry. And this is one of 3 virtualization methods to associate the template with a folder by its type or an aspect. So going back to my claims repository, when I now refresh my tree, you see that there's a virtual folder structure associated with this claim. Also with this claim, because all the claims hold this aspect claim folder, and every new object created with this aspect claim folder will automatically inherit this structure. So as you can see, it can be applied at runtime on existing content. And when I browse now into the structure, you will see there's a substructure as well. There also is a folder. Certain documents in the processing of a claim may need to undergo a review process. So you can look for these documents by their status, and the documents will be displayed in multiple locations. So this assessment here in the assessment folder is in the draft status. When I change the status of this document from draft to in review, it will move to the next, to the in review folder.
So there's a question on the chat right now on, there was a bit of confusion around the aspects. So you had a JSON file in the data dictionary that had to have a specific name. Is that just the name of an aspect that you created and put on the folders beforehand, or?
Yes.
Okay. So you just create a custom aspect and the same name applies, and then, yeah, okay.
Yes, I created an aspect claim folder in the CLEX namespace, and this was attached to the folder. Great.
So you had applied the CLEX claim folder on the folders we saw just
yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And when you create a new folder, we will do this right now, automatically this virtual folder template will be applied. So this structures, this virtualization method is ideal if you have a large number of claims and you need to have this structure on every claim. So for replicating a structure, it's ideal. So when I create a new folder, I have a rule on this claims folder that attaches the aspect. So let's create a new customer calls. He had an accident. He's fallen down from a tree and calls his agency. Now the agency creates a new folder for this claim. Let's call it tree fall 007. And once you have created the folder, and that's a normal process, the clerk that's responsible for taking the call and handling the claim will provide some metadata for the claim. We've created a model with a claim number. The claim needs to have a valid policy, so we link it to the policy here. It's an accident case, not a motor insurance or life insurance case. It has the status new, and the administrator is automatically, the claim administrator, I'm logged in as admin, is automatically attached. By the way, this form was designed using the new model manager, as well as the model was designed using the model manager.
Awesome. And we're doing a Tech Talk Live in December on the custom model manager.
Okay, so I've created this new claim here. And as you can see, as I said, a claim can't stand alone. It always has a contract, an insurance contract along with it. And the insurance contract will have certain terms and conditions. As this is relevant for the claim, it's already linked into the claim folder here. So the claim was just created. You can see I'm linking here important documents, and this is just a query by policy ID, and it's linked there by the policy ID as well as the document type. So now let's imagine we have thousands of claims. Managing all the claims in this claim folder would be quite difficult. So you have seen how I associated a virtual folder structure by an aspect name. I will show you now how to create a structure to easily find a claim by certain criteria, like the processing status, like the responsible person, and like the insurance class. I will add this structure, virtual folder structure, to this claims application folder by adding an aspect. And with virtual folders installed, you will see there are aspects for virtualization. There are two aspects, system virtual folder and custom virtual folder. I'm showing you the system virtual folder right now. It will associate such a virtual folder template with this folder. The difference between system and custom is that with system, you are able to place the template either in the class path or in the data dictionary. With custom, you would place the template somewhere in the repository. So now I've added the aspect. I want to provide a virtual folder template. Now going back, you can see that in the claims application folder, there are additional virtual folders added. So you can browse claims by type. So accident insurance, health insurance, basically the insurance type. But you can also search or browse for all claims you are responsible for processing, so, and by their status. So I can have a view with all my open claims. I can see that they are all assigned to me right now. That's not that's not ideal, but I will manage to process all three of them. I can see in which state they are. They are all new. Or I can find the same claim, but in a different location by insurance branch. And you will see there is a claim for relevant for the motor insurance business unit, one or two relevant for the accident insurance, and they are all in the status of new. Now, changing the properties of this claim from new to in process, because I want to work on it now. You can see that it's now moved to another folder.
So I'm getting a lot of comments from the IRC channel. There's a bunch of questions about security and permissions. Is that something you're going to talk about a bit later? Because then we just wait with addressing that until a bit later.
This is a question that comes every time, so I have no slide on it, but I can respond to it right now. So, okay. As a virtual folder, basically, it's just a query and a view on your content. There is no permissions associated with the virtual folder. In general, since these folders are virtual, only defined by a template with a query, there's nothing you could persist along with these folders. So all the documents which are displayed in a virtual folder have a physical location. And their the ACLs, the permissions from the object and from the physical location will apply. So if there's a document in a physical location where you as a user don't have access rights, you won't be able to access it from the virtual folder. But you can't set the permissions within or on a virtual folder.
Okay, so basically, just to make sure that I understand it correctly, so the folders, whatever the search, the items that was returned by the search, those owns permission is what counts, and you cannot set any special permissions that would override on the virtual folder.
No.
Okay. The next question is a bit related to search. So would a virtual folder affect the search and the Solr index, or would you be able to do searches against the virtual folders, or is there how does that work, if at all?
So virtual folders currently uses full text queries. So I will refer to this later on in the slides on some best practices and prerequisites. But you cannot search for a virtual folder, itself. Okay.
And let me just check if there's anything else related to this. So Heiko is asking if we can see this work through CIFS or Webdav. If you have that prepared, you'd very much like to see that.
Yeah, since it's implemented at the service level, you will be able to see it in Webdav as well. So this is now referring to a system which is set up on Amazon EC2. It's not the same system. I haven't set up a Webdav connection to this system right now. But you will see it in mobile. You will be able to see it in CIFS. You will be able to see it in Webdav. You will be able to see it on FTP and IMAP. But what we are doing right now is advise against using these protocol, at least when you try to add new documents to a virtual folder. And that's because these protocols, for example, Webdav, will handle document creation in atomic transactions. So when you add a document to a Webdav folder, first the document will be created, then the document will be retrieved, and then the content will be added to the document. And the retrieval of this document, just added without context, will fail because the index is not up to date. And this will even fail if you have used transactional queries. So we advise against using this when you want to use the virtual folders for adding documents. And by the way, I can show you, I've spoken about the filing rule. So when you add a document to such a virtual folder, you need to specify a filing rule. This is optional. If you don't specify a filing rule, you cannot add a document into such a folder.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's all based on search and search queries. So the system needs to know where to actually put the file when you upload it.
But yes, going to a form or going to this forms directory, when you create a claim, there will typically be some kind of a claim notification form that's issued by the customer. And I can upload this form to the forms directory. When I now look at the properties of this document, you will see that a document type, it's a claim form. The claim number as well as the insurance class was already inherited from the claim. So that's what I meant by property inheritance and metadata inheritance and auto classification, so that you can provide important metadata already from the folder and the query that are specified in the template.
And I can see we have one more question on the chat. If virtual folders can be bootstrapped, I would assume the answer is yes, because it's all a matter of having nodes with aspects and having the JSON files bootstrapped as normal nodes. Any comments on that?
So the virtual folder don't need to be bootstrapped. As all of the virtualization methods will be active immediately from when you provide them.
Oh, but I think the use case is that you want to have an instance you can start up, and some predefined folders with virtual folders and some searches will be present in there immediately when you start it up for the first time.
Okay, I understand. When you install Alfresco, if there's some content with virtual folders already.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, then I misunderstood the question. Yes. That brings me to another point of this presentation. First of all, as already mentioned, there's a design process for virtual folders. So it's typically it's required to have a custom model in place, providing the metadata you need for your queries. And then you need to specify the template. So what we deliver is the tutorial, which is basically the same scenario I'm showing you right now, but this is not bootstrapped. What will be bootstrapped is a model you use to virtualize. So there is an aspect available for virtualization, the two aspects I showed you, the system and the custom virtual folder. There will be a folder in the data dictionary, bootstrapped, where you can store your templates. And we will provide an example template. I can show you this. I've applied it here as well. There's an example template which you can use for reference. And it provides searches to provide all site content, this site's content, by MIME type. You can see multimedia files there. Yeah, there are already images. And by the way, it also, as it's using FTS, full text search, it can also be applied on tags. So this virtual folder here will query for documents that are tagged as confidential. And in preparation for this demo, I have tagged this file here with a confidential tag. Or you can search for documents in your user home. So naturally, this bootstrapped template will not use a custom model. It will use the standard metadata that is provided along on a vanilla Alfresco install.
I have another question. It's very, very active feedback on this. So Peter is asking if he's understanding correctly that virtual folders can be nested. Like we see now, you have this folder's contents and documents and Office documents. Could you spend a few minutes just describing what how that works?
So first of all, in one virtual folder template, you can define nested virtual folders. So a hierarchical strategy. As you can see here, everything under my content is defined in a single template. And this single template is attached to the documents, to the doc library folder. And it defines the whole structure here. So starting with an entry-level folder, it's 4 levels defined in a single template. With a previous example of claims, we have seen that there is a virtual folder template that defines the structure of a claim here. And this virtual folder template is associated with every claim. So what you see here in a claim is defined in one template. But then the structure to discover claims by type or policy documents also by insurance class, and we have insurance contracts as well as terms and conditions. This structure is defined in a separate template, and this was associated with the claims application folder by adding an aspect to the claims application folder. Just to recap, the claims application folder has an aspect, system virtualization, and this has a property where you can refer to the virtual folder template. The claim has every claim has the aspect claim folder in the CLEX namespace and is associated with the template via the template name in the data dictionary. So what you can see here, and that's bringing me back to the original question, when I'm browsing the claims structure, for example, my open claims, I have now the claim treefall in process. I have a virtual folder structure here, and I have a nested virtual folder structure in this claim. So basically the virtual folder structure from the claim is nested in the virtual folder structure that was applied to structure my claims application.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Another question is, can we set rules on virtual folders?
No, nothing can be persisted on a virtual folder.
Because it is a virtual folder and it doesn't really exist per se, so that makes sense as well.
Exactly. A virtual folder has a node ref, so you can link a virtual folder because there's an algorithm how to build this node ref. The node ref is a bit special. It's not identical with a normal node ref, but you can reference a virtual folder in this node ref and, for example, create a bookmark. Okay. But this node ref as well is virtual, so you cannot, for example, it's also not possible to add a comment to a virtual folder. So as you can see here, the actions on a virtual folder are quite limited. And when I'm viewing details on this assessment folder, you will see that there's no option to add a comment here.
Okay. How far are you in the demo? Because there's a bunch of questions, and I want to make sure that we get
the demo is finished.
Great. Okay, so we'll just continue with the questions. What happens if I access a folder, a virtual folder through Webdav or CIFS, and I delete some content? Can I do that? And if not, would I get a permission denied? If I delete it, would it just be deleted from where it actually exists, or what happens in terms of deletions?
So first of all, we have limited the number of actions that are available on a virtual folder. For a good reason. A virtual folder is not identical with a physical folder. And the delete action is not active. So you won't have a delete action in a virtual folder.
Okay.
Having said this, it's in our future backlog to provide further actions on a virtual folder, and the delete will be definitely one of the first we provide. Delete will delete the physical representation of the object. So it will have the same effect as if you execute delete in a physical folder, the document will be removed from the repository. It's more difficult when you trying to move a document, because moving a document in a virtual folder, what does it mean? Basically, it means you remove it from the virtual folder, and removing it from a virtual folder is achieved by changing metadata. But changing metadata of a document that should not be displayed in a virtual folder anymore, it's guessing. Which metadata do you change to which value? So we don't support move in a virtual folder.
Yeah, that's a tough one to solve, because if you're doing this outside from a protocol, then as far as Alfresco is concerned, it will just see a file that's being that disappears and then it reappears somewhere. So it's a tough one.
Exactly.
I have another question. I hope that you can make sense of it. But Bindu is asking if you ported the extra filters feature from Workdesk. If that makes any sense to you, because it doesn't make sense to me. I didn't know the Workdesk product that well.
Oh, that's a pity. Bindu is so good on Workdesk. No.
Okay. And let me just check if there's any more questions that I missed. So we covered deletions and permissions. And yeah, just to recap about the accessing it through, so we can access the virtual folders through CIFS and Webdav and CMIs, but right now uploading content is not something we would encourage at this stage. But are we addressing that in the future, or?
Yes, this is definitely a thing we want to get a hand on, but this means we have to change the protocol implementations. We haven't done this right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's yeah. Just go ahead with the rest of your slides. Then I'll recap and see if there's any more questions that I missed.
Okay, so I don't know. Do we provide the slides afterwards?
Yes, if you give the slides to me or just upload them to SlideShare, I'll make sure to attach them to the YouTube video. Okay,
good. This is also sort of a tutorial how to use it. I'm going through this quickly because we have more or less talked about all of this. So what's required for a virtual folder configuration? First of all, typically you have a custom content model as a prerequisite. Then you would create your template. The template specifies queries that are executed when you enter a virtual folder, and it defines a filing rule that's optional. If you want to upload a document to such a virtual folder, you can, in a filing rule, you will define the physical storage location and the type of the object, as well as aspects that are attached on creation and the value and propagation or inheritance rules for the property values. So now then you have created the template, you want to associate it with a physical folder. A virtual folder is always associated with a physical folder. So choose a virtualization method. You have seen two, the system virtual with the aspect and the type virtual, where you have the type, where you have the JSON template in the data dictionary that's named identical to the type you want to associate it with it. This virtualization method makes basically two things. It associates the template with a folder, but it also defines a rule for the virtual folder code to distinguish if a folder has virtual subfolders. And then there are some implicit artifacts which you typically do not have to modify. There's a model coming along for the virtualization. There are some switches in the Alfresco global properties file. And there's some action configuration you can modify in share config custom. An example template, I will go into a template in a minute.
I was just about to ask, because it's been up a few times that everyone is anxious to see what how the JSON file actually works and how you express things. So really looking forward to that. Then
virtualization methods, we've spoken about it. The type virtual, the template location is in the data dictionary. And it's associated via a name. The system virtual is associated via an aspect that's added to a folder, and the template is located either in a data dictionary or in the class path. And then there's the custom virtual method that's similar to the system virtual method, with the difference that the template is located somewhere in the repository. And you could choose it in a dialog where the template is located. And that brings me to the action configuration. Not all actions are enabled for virtual folders. So in fact, if you create any new action in your custom code, they will be disabled by default. And we have created new evaluators that will be added to the action in the action group configuration in share config custom. So there is the situation that you have an object which is inside a virtual folder. You will have the situation that you will have actions on a virtual folder itself. And you will have a situation, now I'm losing.
It's all right.
No,
take your time.
It's affecting the details view and the browse view. Because for the details view and the browse view, there are action groups. So you have an evaluator for documents and an evaluator for folders in a virtual folder. And then you will have an evaluator for virtual folders themselves. And if you want an action to appear either in the browser or in the detail view, you have to add this evaluator in the share config custom. An example I've provided here. So you have to add this evaluator to the action group configuration. Maybe I'll show you. It's medical. So you have the action group for document browse view. If you want the document download to be available, you have to add this evaluator. Switching to the demo. This claims form is in a virtual folder, and the actions you see here are specified in the configuration I just showed you, as well as the actions that are available here. So you don't see a delete here, for example. One more slide for on configuration. There are some parameters in the Alfresco global properties. I don't want to talk on each single one. Important is you can enable or disable the virtual folder subsystem. And if you want to apply the type virtualization method on a certain aspect, and that's for performance reason. Yeah, there's a filter in the global properties which namespaces this will be applied. Those two are important switches in the global properties configuration. Nearly last but not least, virtual folders is available only if you use Solr 4 and if you have transactional query enabled. So use database if possible, or use database or always use database. The queries are defined in FTS. Currently, we support no cloud sync from within a virtual folder, but still a document that's synced to the cloud will be available in a virtual folder, but there will not be virtual folders in the cloud because there's no custom model. And yeah, I think the other ones you can look up after this presentation when you get the slides. And there's a future backlog. 4 minutes left.
Yeah, so if you want to spend a minute or two on the backlog, and then show us the JSON model, and then I don't think we have time for much more because we need to stop on top of the hour. So please go ahead and talk quickly about the backlog, and then show us the JSON file.
So when you see the JSON file, you will immediately understand why the top feature here is an editor for virtual folders. Creating virtual folders not by editing the JSON file, but using an editor tool. Another thing which you will probably come across when you use virtual folders, you will wish that you will be able to use a facet for a virtual folder. So I basically create a filter to dynamically create virtual folders, in that you only specify a certain property and create a folder for each unique value of this property. Then also not supported right now is folder creation of a new folder in a virtual folder. That's one of the top priorities for the next release. And since virtual folder allows to retrieve custom columns for every object, we just need to have a table view that's configurable, and we can configure columns to display as a standard in the doc library and the repository. Then we will provide also custom columns in the result list. And more protocol support, we spoke about this, cloud sync, more actions to be supported, for example, delete, probably provide more virtual folder specific capabilities in the different clients we offer. So we have an implementation in Share. You can use it from mobile, but there's no virtual folder specific implementation in mobile yet, for example. But then let's have a look at the virtual folder templates. So,
is there any chance you can make the font a bit bigger, maybe zoom in, or? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the definition for the claim. First of all, you've seen we have the, on the first level, we have the nodes, forms, correspondence, assessment. And this is the definition for the forms folder. So you have a name, that's mandatory. You have an optional description for the folder. You have a search term. So the query is defined. The claim ID must match the claim ID of the folder. Therefore, we have these brackets here that reflect the properties set on the parent object, and that's the physical folder, the claim folder. So the claim ID on the document must match the folder's claim ID, and the document type is claim form. You could now limit the search also to a physical location, or you can only search for, as in this example, metadata. And this node also has a filing rule. So in the filing rule, you can see there's a path where the physical representation or where the object is stored physically. That's the claim folder, is the actual path, the parent. But you could also use placeholders here. And a classification where you state the type. The type is a claim document, could be normal CM content as well. And an aspect is added on creation. And here you set the properties. Again, you can use inheritance from the claimed folder. The claim ID is set automatically. The doc type is set automatically. Or there are some placeholders available. So, for example, this actual path is a placeholder, or current user is a placeholder. So you could set the responsible administrator to the current user by using this placeholder. I have an example for this placeholder in another template. Yeah. No, I don't find it quickly, but I think you've seen how the definition for such a node looks like.
And quickly, could you show having nested nodes? I think that's one of the questions, just how you define a node, a virtual folder within a node, within a virtual folder.
So if you nest them in the template itself.
Yes.
There's an example for the assessment. The assessment has subnodes here. So there's just another array of nodes in the assessment folder.
Okay, great.
And if you nest it, as in the example of the demo, that you have this claims structure, and within the claim structure, you have the claims. It's nested by, how should I say? It's nested by definition. So if you have a folder with a virtual structure that matches the search criteria from another virtual folder, you will have a nested virtual folder dynamically.
Okay, great. So we're already 3 minutes on top of the hour, and I have another call to get onto. But Jens, I just want to thank you so much for coming today and showing off this new wonderful feature. I'm really looking forward to playing with it. There was a question about if it would be in a nightly build. I don't think it will be in the nightly builds for community just yet, but give us a few weeks and hopefully we'll have a definite date on when it will be in, it will be in the next community edition release or it will be in the December one. But we'll definitely give you guys an update on that when we know a bit more.
Yes, it's not on the nightly builds yet.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you so much. And remember that we have the Alfresco Day in Boston tomorrow and the office hours next week on Thursday with Richard and the user assistance team. So until next time.